Welcome to a Wotan Games tutorial on the print and play version for War of the Nine Realms. In this pack, you have everything you need to make up the game. First, there's a set of the rules, which will explain how to play the game. Next, the realm cards, and it'll give you all the information about the characters, the Aesir and the Norsemen that you will need. The next sheet has the various characters. The cauldron markers, represented by the raven, the action markers, represented by Sleipnir, the wound markers, the character standees for the Aesir and for the Norsemen. The next two sheets are the board upon which you will battle. Next, our set of fate cards and terrain hexes. And an additional sheet of fate cards. And that is all the components. You will need some form of glue. We've chosen a glue stick. And glue dots or blue tack, some form of tape. You will also need something to cut your pieces out with, such as scissors, a craft knife, or if you prefer to use the guillotine. If you are a child making up the game, do get an adult to help you with the cutting out part. You will also need some weighted bases for your standees. It could be coins, standee bases, or wooden counters such as the circular or square ones that you see here. It's whatever you have available. Firstly, we are going to cut out our realm cards. For this example, we will show different cutting methods. Firstly, the guillotine. Be careful with your fingers. My preferred method, craft knife and steel ruler. And of course, you can use scissors. Once the realm cards are done, next, let's free the characters from their two-dimensional prison. I like to roughly just use the scissors to separate the sections so it's more manageable. And I'm just going to use the scissors for this part. Carefully cut each of the characters out, carefully cutting along the black lines. So there are the Norsemen. Now that the characters are done, we will move on to the counters. Once again, following the black lines to neatly cut out each of the counters. The wound markers are just a grid form, so I'm just quickly going to do those using the craft knife. Separating them out carefully along the black lines with scissors. Next up, time to cut out the fate cards. I will use a craft knife for this, but feel free to use whatever method you are most comfortable with. Now the fake cards are done. Time to move on to the terrain hexes. For this, I used the scissors to cut along the outside, and for more control to separate the hexes, I used a craft knife and finished it off with scissors. There they are. Terrain hexes. Next, we assemble the board. Follow the instructions. First, we need to cut off this tab. For this, I'm just going to use a craft knife. Then tape this sheet to the Norseman sheet. First aligning it. Do note that the sheets themselves are off center. You can clean this up later if you wish by cutting the excess either side. Now put your tape on the back of the Norseman side, leaving enough overlap to be able to adhere the Aesir sheet. So it's now ready to once again align and then adhere the Aesir sheet. Make sure you align those hexes correctly. However, to form a stronger bond, we are going to glue between the two sheets. And that is your board ready for the battle. Next, we prepare our standees by scoring along the lines. I prefer to score first to ensure I get a neat fold. You don't need fancy tools. I'm just using a wooden skewer for this. Of course, if you have the supplies available, such as a bone creaser, you could use that. Once I have scored the lines, I will neatly fold the standee. Next, fold the edges against the artwork and then fold in the middle so that you have the artwork on both sides. I used a ruler to get a nice precise fold, and with the center, just flatten down that fold with a bone creaser or a skewer or just your nail. Make sure they are well aligned. Next, we give our standees their bases. For this, I will use our coins. Using a glue dot onto the base of the standee, I will then adhere the standee to the coin. Press down firmly, and there we have the first standee. You can also use double-sided tape or blue tack for this. Here I'm going to show you using one of the wooden counters. Alternatively, you can put the glue dot first onto your base and then put the standee on top. Use whichever method you feel most comfortable with. And for Schleppnir and our Raven counters, we use a smaller coin for their base. Another option, if you do have standee bases, you can just slot in the standees, as shown with this Raven. And that's it, all ready for the battle. With our standees on their bases, with our terrain hexes ready to transform the ground beneath our feet, our wound counters ready to fill the blood cauldron with the sanguine fluid of our enemies, your fate cards ready to alter the combat in your favour. So get your 12-sided dice and prepare to be the only one standing on the plains of annihilation. To get a copy, follow the links in the description to get your own War of the Nine Realms print and play. And we look forward to seeing you fighting on the plains of annihilation.